Martell Holes has always presented himself as a smart businessman, especially when it comes to real estate. On the show, he often speaks with confidence, as if every move he makes is well planned and backed by solid strategy. But when you really sit back and look at what has been shown, and more importantly, what hasn't been shown, some serious questions begin to form. Recently, there was talk about a deleted scene that never made it to television, and that scene may have told a very different story than the one viewers were given. According to what has been shared, this deleted scene came from a lunch meeting between Martell, Chris Fletcher, and Destiny. The scene that aired made the conversation look calm, professional, and very flattering to Martell. But when you really sit back and look at what has been shown, and more importantly, what hasn't been shown, some serious questions begin to form. Recently, there was talk about a deleted scene that never made it to television, and that scene may have told a very different story than the one viewers were given. According to what has been shared, this deleted scene came from a lunch meeting between Martell, Chris Fletcher, and Destiny. The scene that aired made the conversation look calm, professional, and very flattering to Martell. It gave the impression that Martell was in control, discussing a new investment property and explaining how it would be sold with the help of Destiny and Chris. Everything looked neat, simple, and polished. But apparently, that was not the full story. In the version that allegedly surfaced online for a short time, the conversation went much deeper. Martell talked about building another home, saying it would take around 9 months to a year to complete. He also mentioned that there are not many multi-million-dollar homes in Huntsville. That statement alone raised eyebrows, because if you already know that the demand is low, why continue to build at that level? Things became more interesting when Chris Fletcher spoke up. Instead of just agreeing with Martell, Chris reminded him of the last house he built. That home was also supposed to be an investment property. Martell had plans to either sell it or rent it out, but neither of those things happened. According to Chris, the house did not sell and it did not rent. Because of that, Orion ended up moving into the home, not as part of some long-term business plan, but because the property simply was not moving. This is where the real issue begins. In business, failure is not the problem. Failure happens to everyone. The problem is repeating the same mistake without learning anything from it. If you build a home and cannot sell it or rent it, that is a sign. It does not mean you are a bad person, but it does mean something about your plan did not work. A smart business move would be to stop, review what went wrong, and adjust your approach. Most business owners would look at price, location, timing, and market demand. They might decide to build smaller homes or focus on a different price range. They might even switch lanes completely. But instead of doing that, Martell appears to be doing the same thing again. Another large home, another long build, another market that already showed low demand. At that point, people are no longer questioning effort, they are questioning logic. Huntsville may have successful people, but that does not mean there is strong demand for multi-million-dollar homes. Most buyers are looking in much lower price ranges. That is where the movement is. That is where homes sell quickly. Ignoring that reality does not make it disappear. It starts to feel less like a business move and more like an ego move. Wanting to say you build million-dollar homes sounds impressive, but in real business, words do not matter as much as results. A builder is judged by what sells, not what sits. If homes are not selling, that is not success, no matter how good they look. What makes this situation more frustrating is the fact that this part of the conversation did not air. Viewers were not allowed to see Chris questioning Martell's decisions. They were not allowed to hear the doubts or the pushback. Instead, they were given a clean edit that once again made Martell look smart, capable, and successful. This is why many people feel he is protected by production. When scenes like this are removed, it changes how the audience understands the story. It removes accountability. It also removes the chance for viewers to form their own opinions based on full information. Reality TV is supposed to show reality, not just what makes certain people look good. There has also been talk that Martell has now gotten his builder's license. If that is true, congratulations are in order. But with that comes responsibility. People want proof. They want transparency. They want to see real projects, real movement, and real results. There are still promises from early seasons that have not gone anywhere, including the hotel project that was talked about years ago. At this point, viewers are left wondering what is real and what was just storyline. And that brings us to a larger conversation about reality television as a whole, especially comments recently made by Carlos King. Carlos King had a lot to say about reality stars who quit shows or complain about drama. His main point was that nobody is forced to be on reality TV. People choose this path. They sign contracts knowing what kind of environment they are entering. Drama, conflict, and public judgment are all part of the deal. From his perspective, it doesn't make sense for people to join reality shows and later complain about how intense things become. Reality TV has been around long enough for everyone to understand how it works. Carlos believes that once you sign up, you accept everything that comes with it, good and bad. He also criticized cast members who want the benefits of reality TV but don't want to fully participate. According to him, some people enjoy the attention, the platform, and the opportunities, but avoid conflict and refuse to drive storylines. He feels this creates imbalance because other cast members end up carrying the emotional weight of the show. Carlos believes reality TV only works when everyone is willing to be uncomfortable. In his view, trying to stay clean, neutral, or above the drama while still getting paid is unfair. He sees it as wanting reward without risk. While some of Carlos King's points make sense, they also miss a big part of the problem. The issue is not always the cast. Often the issue is editing. Not everyone is treated the same. Production often decides who will be the villain and who will be protected. Once that decision is made, everything else follows. Some cast members have every messy moment highlighted, replayed, and stretched across an entire season. Others are given grace, understanding, and favorable edits. Over time, this wears people down. Being constantly painted as the problem takes a toll, especially when you're not doing anything worse than anyone else. This is why some people leave, not because they can't handle reality TV, but because they're tired of being the sacrifice for entertainment. They're tired of carrying storylines while others stay safe. That's a side of reality TV that often gets ignored. Carlos also suggested that people who want to showcase their businesses should go on shows like Shark Tank. But reality TV doesn't have to be non-stop chaos for entertaining. There are shows that focus on growth, ambition, and relationships without constant fighting. Conflict can exist without screaming matches and physical altercations. Reality TV is a creative choice. Producers choose how to shape the story. They choose what to show and what to hide. Saying drama is the only way ignores the many ways people can be interesting without destroying each other. At the heart of Carlos King's argument is personal responsibility. He believes people should know what they are signing up for. And while that is true to a point, it also ignores how powerful editing can be. No one signs up expecting to be misrepresented season after season. It's easy to say just don't do reality TV, but it's not that simple. Many people join these shows to grow businesses, share stories, or change their lives. They don't expect to be turned into caricatures. The problem is not uncomfortable. The problem is unfair treatment. There is a difference between showing reality and shaping a narrative. When people feel they are being used, it makes sense that they would walk away. Carlos also talked about people wanting to reinvent themselves on reality TV. He pushed back against that idea, saying reality TV is not for clean rebrands. But growth is real. People change. Wanting to be seen differently is not fake. It's human. If reality TV truly showed growth, it would allow people to evolve instead of locking them into one role forever. But often, once a character is chosen, they are stuck there forever. This brings us to a more positive moment, Melody Shari's Winter Wonderland event. Amid all the criticism, drama, and debate, this event stood out as something genuinely beautiful. It showed planning, effort, and joy. It was polished, organized, and uplifting. The event reflected creativity and care. It was not about tearing anyone down. It was about bringing people together and creating an experience. Moments like that remind viewers that reality TV doesn't always have to be negative. Melody's event showed what happens when focus is placed on growth and celebration. It also highlighted the difference between showing real success and talking about it. People could see the work, the turnout, and the result. At the end of the day, this entire situation comes down to balance. Business decisions should be guided by demand, not ego. Reality TV should be guided by fairness, not favoritism. Viewers want truth, not protection. When scenes are hidden, when edits are selective, and when certain people are always shielded, it damages trust. Audiences are smarter than they are often given credit for. They notice patterns, they ask questions. Martell's situation could have been a real learning moment. Showing mistakes does not make someone weak, it makes them human. Avoiding those moments only fuels doubt. Carlos King's comments opened an important conversation, but it needs to go deeper. Accountability should exist on all sides, including production. Reality TV works best when everyone plays by the same rules, and when positivity is shown, like Melody. At the end of the day, this entire situation comes down to balance. Business decisions should be guided by demand, not ego. Reality TV should be guided by fairness, not favoritism. Viewers want truth, not protection. When scenes are hidden, when edits are selective, and when certain people are always shielded, it damages trust. Audiences are smarter than they are often given credit for. They notice patterns. They ask questions. Martell's situation could have been a real learning moment. Showing mistakes does not make someone weak. It makes them human. Avoiding those moments only fuels doubt. Carlos King's comments opened an important conversation, but it needs to go deeper. Accountability should exist on all sides, including production. Reality TV works best when everyone plays by the same rules. And when positivity is shown, like Melody's event, it deserves just as much attention as the mess, because growth, success, and joy are also part of real life. In the end, viewers are not asking for perfection, they are asking for honesty, and that is what keeps people watching.